My golden child brother thought he was ambushing a broken runaway when he pounded on my front porch, demanding why I stopped funding my family's lavish lifestyle 4 years ago. My parents spent 48 months telling everyone in our hometown that I had suffered a mental breakdown and vanished into thin air. But the second my brother looked past my shoulder, the color completely drained from his face. He backed down the steps with a shaking hand, pressing his phone to his ear, and whispered, "Mom, you need to see this." She never told us. Follow my story to see what he saw and comment the city you're watching from. My golden child brother, Marcus, thought he was ambushing a broken runaway when he pounded his fist against my front door, demanding why I had stopped sending money home 4 years ago. My parents had spent 48 months telling everyone in our hometown that I had suffered a severe emotional breakdown, joined a cult, and vanished into thin air. But the second Marcus stepped onto the porch, his smug, aggressive attitude vanished. He had expected a cramped, rundown rental, but instead found himself staring at a stunning, custom-built coastal estate. As I opened the door, Marcus tried to push past me with a sneer. But the moment he looked past my shoulder into my glass-walled home office, the color completely drained from his face. Hanging directly behind my desk was a massive corporate profile award, alongside a framed national magazine cover featuring my face under the headline, Top Independent CEO of the Year. His jaw dropped. He slowly backed down the porch steps, clutching his phone with a shaking hand, pressing it to his ear. "Mom, you need to see this," he whispered into the speaker, his voice cracking with pure terror. "She never told us. She isn't missing. She's running the entire firm." Follow my story to see what happened when my parents arrived and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. To understand why my brother showed up on my porch like a debt collector, you have to understand the toxic dynamic that governed my life for nearly a decade. My name is Chloe, and by the time I was 25, I was working grueling 70-hour weeks as a senior financial consultant. I wasn't keeping the money I earned, though. Every single month, over 60% of my paycheck was automatically transferred directly into my parents' bank account. I was living off instant noodles and cheap coffee in a tiny, windowless studio apartment, completely exhausting myself just to keep them happy. Meanwhile, my parents used my hard-earned money to treat my brother, Marcus, like royalty. They bought him a brand new luxury sports car, paid off his maxed-out credit cards, and continuously funded his endless list of failed business ventures. Whenever I tried to express how exhausted I was, my mother would coldly wave her hand and say, "Family's sacrifice flows upward, Chloe. You owe us for raising you." The tipping point arrived on a rainy Tuesday. I was rushed to the emergency room for an unexpected medical procedure that drained my remaining emergency savings. Desperate and terrified, I called my mother, asking if I could pause my monthly transfer for just 30 days so I could pay my hospital bills. My mother didn't offer a shred of comfort. She scoffed into the phone and called me selfish, claiming Marcus needed that month's money for a high-end vacation to boost his morale. Right then, the scales fell from my eyes. I hung up, opened my banking app, and canceled every recurring transfer cold turkey. When the automatic transfers stopped, my family's polite facade completely shattered into a campaign of pure psychological warfare. My parents couldn't handle losing their personal piggy bank, but even more than that, they couldn't afford to let our hometown know the truth. To cover up the fact that their daughter had cut them off, they engineered a vicious, calculated smear campaign. Within weeks, rumors began trickling back to me through distant cousins. My mother was calling relatives, weeping corporate-quality tears, claiming I had suffered a severe emotional breakdown, joined a manipulative cult, and disappeared, out of pure shame. They painted themselves as heartbroken, grieving parents dealing with a mentally unstable child, all to protect their public image and hide the fact that they were drowning in debt without my paychecks. For 4 long years, my end of the line was dead silent. I didn't waste my energy engaging in loud screaming matches or defending myself on social media. Instead, I blocked their numbers, moved 3 states away, and channeled every drop of my anger into my work. I operated quietly under my grandfather's legal estate name, building a multi-million-dollar financial advisory firm completely from scratch. I spent 48 months creating an independent, untouchable life, blissfully unaware that my family's reckless spending was about to catch up with them. Marcus's luxury boutique business defaulted on massive loans, pushing my parents' homes straight toward bank foreclosure. Desperate for a lifeline, they hired a high-priced private investigator to track down my physical address, completely convinced they could manipulate or corner me into paying off their debts. 30 minutes after Marcus's panicked phone call, a taxicab screeched into my driveway, and my parents marched straight onto my porch like an invading army. My mother didn't greet me with tears of relief for her supposedly missing daughter. Instead, her face twisted into a mask of pure, entitlement-driven rage as she slammed her handbag against my doorframe. "How dare you?" she shrieked, her voice echoing across the quiet neighborhood. "You let your family drown in debt while you live like royalty in this mansion. You vanished for 4 years and hoarded millions while your brother lost his business." My father stepped up beside her, pointing a shaking finger directly at my chest. "You owe us every single dime you have, Chloe. We raised you, and you're going to hand over the money to pay off our foreclosure today, or I'll bring the press right to your front lawn." They stood there, breathing heavily, completely certain that their aggressive public scene would break my spirit and force me into submission. But I didn't scream, and I didn't shed a single tear. I took a slow, deep breath, reached over to the side table, and picked up a sleek leather dossier that my corporate estate lawyer had finalized months ago. I pulled out a stamped legal document, opened it, and handed it directly to my mother. "You came here to demand money to stop your bank foreclosure," I said, my voice dripping with cold, absolute composure. "You should really read the name of the primary lender on that mortgage note." My mother snatched the paper, her eyes scanning down to the bolded signature line. The color completely drained from her face, her hands trembling violently as she dropped her handbag onto the porch. 2 years ago, when their debts first mounted, my private holding company had quietly purchased their primary mortgage note from the bank. While they spent 4 years calling me broken and missing, I was the sole legal owner of their house. I had been secretly covering their property taxes out of lingering respect for my late grandfather's memory. I hadn't vanished. I was silently holding the roof over their heads. The heavy silence on my porch was suffocating as the brutal reality set in. My mother's jaw hovered open, while my father leaned weakly against the railing, his face pale and sunken. The arrogant entitlement that had fueled their 4-year smear campaign completely vanished in a single second. "I am giving you a choice," I said, leaning back against the doorframe with a calm, unyielding smile. "Option 1. You sign a legally binding agreement requiring you to issue a public statement to the entire extended family, admitting every lie you told about my mental health. Option 2. I initiate immediate foreclosure proceedings tomorrow morning and legally evict you from my property." Marcus let out a pathetic sob, begging me not to take their home, but my father simply reached out with shaking hands, took my lawyer's pen, and signed the agreement. My mother followed right after, her tears finally real as she realized that her toxic control over my life was permanently gone. They slunk down my driveway, defeated, stripped of their pride and their unearned luxury. Marcus was forced to sell his sports car and take an entry-level warehouse job to pay off his massive debts, while my parents lived quietly in a home they now knew belonged to the daughter they threw away. Standing on my sunny porch, looking out at the peaceful ocean, I breathed in the crisp air. I had protected my health, my business, and my sanity. What would you have done if your own family treated you like a human ATM and smeared your name? Would you have bought their mortgage or cut them off completely? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching until the very end.